I forgot to tell you, this episode is gonna be recorded in Uganda.
I'm a choice. Hey, I was like, what?
I just thought about that right now. I was like, I'm gonna pull that on her. I'm gonna pull a joke on her and see what she says.
It's funny.
Yeah. I'm Bonnie Kibuka. On my podcast, the Ugandan Boy Talk Show, I've had an honor to sit down with some of the most incredible hearts and minds from Uganda, like Miss Uganda Oliver Nakakande, Joram Ozor Job, the Executive Director of Joram Model Management, Pastor Wilson Bugembe, and many, many more. On this podcast, you get to hear raw and real life stories of their journey, what they've been through, and the people that have inspired their journey so that they can make a difference in ours. Listen to the Ugandan Boy Talk Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Join the journey soon. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm doing good. Just out here with the pageantry
Yeah.
and working with university on the side. So everything is just all at once. But yeah, I'm doing good.
You're hard to get. Like, it's been over a year wanting to have you on the podcast, and you're very hard to get. You're a hard person to get. You're always busy,
Busy, but I'm here. I made time.
always on the move, doing something,
Yeah.
some projects.
So in terms of projects, I wouldn't say there's projects per se, but just keeping on top of my pageantry work. As you know, I was Miss Uganda UK 2019 to 2022. And that was a long period of time for me. It was a long reign as well, but from 17 to 20 years old, I've grown so much as a person and as an individual and as a pageant queen as well.
Yeah.
I wanted to kind of, after that long break, come back and compete for another national pageant, which I did this year.
Yeah. Today I have an opportunity to have a conversation with Caitlin Ochana. Caitlin is Miss Uganda UK 2019 to 2021 and Miss International UK second runner-up of 2022-2023. And that's what she's just been talking about, which has been a long, like she's never had a break since like 2018. And she's the first Acholi girl to win Miss Uganda UK. And she's the founder of Asthma and Me. So today, welcome Caitlin to the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. Like you said before in the beginning, it's been a while to get me on the podcast, but I'm here. It's my first time even like coming on a podcast type.
Yeah. So, you know Linda.
Yes, Linda. Oh, my Linda.
How do you know Linda?
We're cousins.
Okay. I knew she was your cousin. I just wanted to put it out for the listeners so they know.
No, yeah, me and Linda were cousins. Honestly, if you meet me and her together, you put me and her in a room, you would know we're related because our energy just bounces off each other so well. Like, she's so funny every time. Like, I saw her at the 256 link up. We had this massive link up during Carnival weekend, and I saw her, and it's just such good vibes when you're in the space, when you're in the same energy vibe room as Linda. But yeah, we're cousins.
No cap. Linda is energetic. I've had her on the podcast twice, and the first time I didn't even know her. She didn't know me, but she brought this energy, and we were just laughing and talking. I'm like, oh yeah, I would love to have her again on the podcast. So I hosted her again, and we did a recording of like scammers in Uganda, something like that. We're reading stories and reacting to them. I was laughing throughout the whole episode because Linda, the way she reacts to things, it was just funny, and the stories themselves were funny. But I like her
She
vibe.
is a comedian. She can make you laugh. She can make anyone laugh.
Yeah.
Honestly.
No, she's amazing. And when you mentioned like she mentioned about you like being cousin, and then when we were talking, you're telling me you and Linda you can talk for days. So I was like, yeah, I need to talk about that because, yeah. So welcome to my podcast, and we're gonna walk through your life and your pageantry. I have a few questions I have down here, and there's some questions that people asked on Instagram when I posted.
Want questions. Oh my gosh.
They asked,
Q&A.
yeah, the Q&A. There's some questions. They're gonna come up. There's people that brought them up, which I'm gonna ask you. Um, but let's start with growing up in the UK. You are Ugandan. In your introduction, I said you're the first Acholi girl to win Miss Uganda UK, but you grew up in the UK. So have you ever been back to your place in Uganda?
Yeah, so the first time I went back home was when I was 4 years old, and that was honestly amazing. And growing up in the UK as a Ugandan girl, um, I didn't really have had like an interaction with girls my age. It was only until my family, my mum, put us in the war cultural group, and that's like that's my tribe, and we meet every Easter. It's like a massive celebration just to get to understand our community and just to see family and friends, and that was nice. Now, when I was growing older, I found that there wasn't any like Ugandan girls like me, apart from my cousins.
Yeah.
Just to build that sisterhood, just to build that friendship. There wasn't anyone around my area, especially West London, because I was born and raised in West London, still live in West London. There wasn't really many of girls from Uganda like me. And it was until I met, I'm sure you know her, she's formerly known as Simplest Talk. She has this platform, she's called Lucia Ade. And I met her through like a couple friends in school when I was back 16, 17, and she was a Ugandan girl as well. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like, wow, that's another Ugandan girl who's my age, that we share the same interest. And that was like the first kind of first door opening into understanding what it's like to be a Ugandan girl in London. So that happened, and then Miss Uganda UK happened, which was such a massive blessing in disguise, because I wasn't even meant to apply that year. I saw the advert on my Instagram. It just kept on coming up over and over and over again. And I applied, and I said, you know what? The director, they're not going to look at my application. Like, there's plenty other girls going to apply. They're not going to look at me. Come to find out that they wanted me as a finalist, and I got brought in around July time for the registration, and before you know it, I'm surrounded with girls from Uganda, like me, and I got to understand my culture on a much deeper level and get that sisterhood. So that happened. It was so fun. So fun.
I wanted to go back to that part of like being a Ugandan in the UK and growing up. I've had an opportunity to have I think there are over 10 people from the UK that I've interviewed on my podcast, like Linda Yu. There's another guy I just interviewed. He's a film producer from the UK. I've had Hakeem on the podcast. So a lot of people from the UK, which is amazing. I love to learn about your guys' life, and because me living in the US, we have some similarity of things we go through. I didn't know any Ugandan community in the US I moved here 2014, and I didn't know anybody, so I was just living my life. It's just recently that I found there's actually a Ugandan group where I live, and they meet every weekend. And
that's nice.
They play soccer. They play, you guys call it football there. They play football every weekend and all that stuff. So it's really, I know the feeling when you're talking about not connecting with the Ugandans, and when you do connect with them like you did, it brings such joy, and people who are like you,
100%.
So
yeah, because you know that you're from Uganda, but then that part of identity, like where do you actually belong here? Okay, yes, you are Ugandan, but now I'm living here. How can I connect to my culture? Rather than just looking it up on Google and understanding the history of my country.
So have you had a time to learn your language? Have your parents taught you to learn your language?
Yeah, so you know what? I think it's my fault growing up. So it all goes back to me just not knowing anyone who was like me. So growing up, my mum and dad spoke in a trolley to me all the time. Spoke to me all the time. That was like what I had. But because I just wasn't really in tune of my culture, I consciously refused to learn the language, although they were speaking to me, that I would respond back in English.
Yeah.
And you know, right now, like, well, now I'm 21, I really do regret that
Mm-hmm.
because I grew up hearing my language, and it's such a beautiful language, actually. And I chose not to learn it because I kind of felt not like cringe, but like, oh, why are you speaking? You know, I just didn't really like. I
Yeah.
didn't really want to. I didn't want to understand and speak my language. I don't think I was proud.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know how crazy that sounds, but I wasn't proud to be an Acholi girl because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know anyone apart from my family who were Acholi. But now growing up, I do understand the the beauty behind
Right.
owning where you're from
Right.
and owning your culture and appreciating it as
Mm-hmm.
well. So, yeah.
No, I know the feeling because my mom is
Mhm.
Kenyan and I can't speak her language. I didn't choose
Mhm.
not to, but I never spent so much time there for me to learn it.
Right.
And I can speak a little bit of Swahili and I can hear Swahili, but I'll respond in English. Now, is that the same thing with you? Can you hear Acholi and you can respond in English or some?
Yes,
Okay.
that's literally me. And, you know, like I said before, growing up has made me realize that maybe I should have just
Mm-hmm.
taken that chance to conversate back
Mm-hmm.
in a trolley. But, you know, growing up, I was just so stubborn. I was so stubborn. I was very like narrow-minded to the idea that, oh my gosh, I'm speaking English and the trolley, like speaking another language where I knew English first. Like, it didn't really
Connect.
in
Oh,
my
yeah.
connect for
Mm-hmm.
me well at all.
Yeah.
But that I would say that's kind of a regret that I do have right now in my
Right.
life. But you know, I'm learning.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
learning.
yeah,
It's all about growth.
we learn through that, and but you still have a chance to learn it because I don't know.
Exactly.
But let's go into the pageant. You touched on a little bit how you went to Miss Uganda UK. Um, what's that made you decide to compete in it? Like you
Mm-hmm.
said you'd seen it, you'd seen the ads. What
Mm-hmm.
what came over you? Is like, you know what, I'm gonna take a step and join it,
Mm-hmm.
participate.
So I remember my New Year's resolution for 2019 was to push myself even more. I think I got into a state of comfortability. You know, everyone knows me, I'm a very confident girl, but okay, but what can I do to kind of push myself without making it a personality trait that, you know, Kate is that confident girl. Okay, let me actually act on it. Let me act on that confidence that, you know, people see in me. So I was just waiting throughout that year. I was waiting for that moment to kind of, you know, push myself into a very uncomfortable situation or position to kind of um, reflect the confidence that I always had inside me.
Hmm.
And so when the Miss Uganda UK flyer starts popping up on my Instagram page and I kept ignoring it and it kept coming back, that was a sign for me.
Yeah.
So I just took that leap and applied. And yeah, it was the best decision of my life. Yeah.
That's crazy, and I've had an opportunity to speak to some of the people who have participated in pageantry. Recently, I had one of the girls that participated in Miss Uganda in Uganda. She's now like Miss Talent, Miss Tourism.
Mm-hmm.
I know they've just actually today they've just I don't know what they call it, announced the new Miss Uganda. No,
Tourism.
Miss Tourism in Uganda.
Mm-hmm.
But I've had former Miss Uganda Oliver Nakakande on the podcast a few times, and I think I'm
Oh, I
gonna.
do love her.
Yeah,
She competed in Miss Grand. She was also
yeah,
Miss Grand Uganda. She competed.
yeah.
I watched her journey. She's honestly an amazing woman.
She's amazing, and she just
Yeah.
released a new book, which we were supposed to do a review when she was in Uganda, but she had some issues come up. But yeah, I've had a few people on the podcast that have talked about pageantry. But the main question for you: what does pageantry mean for you? Like even when you choose to
Yeah.
participate in it, what does it mean to you to be in it?
Mm. For me, pageantry reflects personal growth.
Hmm.
Pageantry reflects advocacy because people think that, oh, pageants is all about, you know, glam and walking on the stage and heels and da 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 and whatnot. But pageantry is a form of advocacy. It's a form of using such platform, you know, to advocate and to spread awareness on whatever you feel that needs spreading. For example, me, I have my platform, Asthma and Me, and I tend to use, well, I intend, sorry, to use that platform to push awareness on what it's like to live with asthma because I was diagnosed with asthma since I was a baby and living with it, you know, it can affect you not just physically, but mentally as well. Mental health can come in play when it comes to your asthma. A lots of misconceptions of what it means to have asthma and how to basically live, you know, a quality life with a chronic illness such as asthma, because people think, oh, you know, your lungs are not functioning as well, you can't do as much. Okay, yeah, it's challenging, but let's educate our community, let's educate people. And if it's educating one person, then it's a fulfilling feeling at the end. So for me, pageantry is all about using your platform to make that difference, whether it's making a difference to one person or 10 or 500.
I like that. I like that answer because it's the same thing I have on this podcast is to make a difference in somebody's life, bringing people to share their stories, their journey. Like even having you on the podcast today, like there might be another child out there that wants to join pageantry, that wants to like looks at you and like you are the inspiration, you are the goal, you are the dream, and like through your words you're gonna change their lives. And even when I host people who are not in pageant, whatever they do, it's like somebody listening, they're gonna get inspired. And I like that you do that or you participate in this to change that one person out there. And with that, yeah, I was gonna ask you about the Asthma and Me, but I'm glad you talked about that.
Yes.
So we talked about you and you going back to Uganda. How does it feel for you when you are in Uganda, or like when you go to Uganda? What's the feeling you have?
So when I went back to Uganda, we went there for about 2 months, the whole of summer, and it just felt like home.
Yeah.
That sounds so weird because it's a country that I've never visited before until, you know, you land, but it generally felt like home. It felt like I was so comfortable in that environment in my country. You know, spending days with my grandma, making chapati, cutting the sugar cane, roasting the nuts, you know, all of that stuff. It was so relaxing, and it was so wonderful to be around people who are my village, number one, and people who are like me or who are from my tribe, and this is my community. You know, yes, I was born in London, but my heart will always lie in Uganda.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, it was such a lovely feeling going back home, and I really did feel really warm, and I just didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
I felt so comfortable in that space.
No, that's always amazing. Do you get a chance to eat some of your local food in London? Do your parents still make that?
Patty and beans, corn and otigo.
Yeah.
For me, my favorite Ugandan dish is chapati and beans. I love chapati and beans. If that had to be my last meal on this earth, then so be it.
Yeah. Do you know?
Everyone knows it's chapati and beans.
Do you know what they call that in Uganda? They call
Rolex.
it chikomando.
Chikomando.
Yeah. So chapati and beans is chikomando.
I'm saying Rolex.
Yeah. Rolex is the one with the eggs and.
Rolex is nice though.
Yeah. Yeah. But
your the tummy, you're so full for the rest of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I like making chapatis here too. I make chapatis and beans, and yeah, I could eat
what else
that.
do I like? I like corn and otigo.
Okay.
That's like okra. So that's, you know, otigo is okra, and that's really nice. And you have it with like moya. Moya is kind of like I don't know how to describe it. It's like an oil that it so much adds extra flavor into your food. Oh,
how about, do you guys make kalo? A kalo? I don't know if that's you guys. It's like millet or something like that. I don't know if it's you guys that make that. I don't know if you've ever had it. A kalo. I don't know how to describe it. I'm not very good about.
Describe it. No, we'll figure it out off camera.
It's like it's like kind of brown, and I don't know. I'm gonna. No,
is it like it's a brown version of corn?
Yes, I think.
Yes,
so.
we have that.
Yeah,
we have that. When I was younger, because I wasn't too keen on eating it, my mum, she lied to me and she told me that it was chocolate cake. So that's how I managed to eat it.
How about posho? You like posho?
We call it corn.
Okay, you call it corn. Okay.
Yeah.
Kawunga. Yeah, I like that. I hated it for a certain time because I went to school in Uganda. My high school was in Uganda before I moved here. but I hated it because that's all we ate in Uganda the whole time in
Oh
boarding
wow.
school, and it felt like a prison. So that's why I didn't like it. Yeah, that's why I
For
didn't like it.
prison. Maybe that's why, yeah, because I absolutely love corn and,
Yeah.
beans. I love
Hmm.
eating, the vegetables. But for you, oof, that was a
Hmm.
struggle meal, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Every
and it
single
wasn't
day.
even like fried or anything. It was just like boiled beans with no flavor, and it was a rough time. So I hated it.
Shaking my
um,
head.
but
Stuff like that, experiences like that
yeah.
in your life is definitely character building. That's all
Hmm.
you can say. It is definitely character building to eat a dish consistently
Hmm.
throughout your years in school.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's character building, to say the
Hmm.
least.
Yeah, we tell it to the people here in the US, and they can't believe it. They can't believe eating the same food for months and months and months while you're in school. It's crazy, but yeah, it's a story to tell, and it's something you share with people. And it's like, yeah, I went through that
Mm,
rough life. It builds you. But
it does,
anyway,
100%.
not running away from your experience from Miss Uganda UK. I wanted to focus on that again. In 2019, 2021, it was COVID.
Yeah, so 2019 to 2022.
Okay, 2022.
Yeah,
Okay.
production didn't happen during 2021 because of just COVID. They wanted to
Hmm.
make sure that, listen, when you go to a Michigan UK production show,
Hmm.
it is amazing. And the team, they deliver every single year. So although, the production team could have done the Michigan UK 2021,
Hmm.
because there was so much restrictions, I'm so glad we held back on that year and carried on until the next year,
Hmm.
which was 2022. Because honestly, the productions is just amazing. The team, how they bring, certain guests, special guests. Like for us, we had a special judge. She was also a pageant queen. She was Miss World England.
Okay. Wow.
Amazing, amazing guests. There's so much time and effort taken into the Michigan UK finale. So yeah, I'm really glad that it wasn't 2021, but it was 2022, because of
And
COVID. It was relaxed.
I was thinking about that yesterday when I was preparing the conversation with you. Like that makes you unique because usually it's like 20. You maybe it's 2 years or maybe, but
One
like
year.
1 year. Okay.
Only 1 year.
So then for you, you just benefited because you had 3 years, like because of COVID.
3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 3 years. It was really weird because it wasn't just me that was experiencing that. There was a lot of girls within the African diaspora
Hmm.
who took part in their pageants that they had a long reign as well.
Hmm.
So it was an awkward time for everyone, but
Yeah.
it's something to relate to some other
Yeah.
queens as well.
But I would see it as a good thing though. Like you want to be in for, or you
Yeah,
don't.
it's different as well. Like who can say that they
Right.
had, a
3 years.
2-3 year
You're right.
reign? You know,
That's how I was looking at. And then after that, you decided to compete for Miss International UK. What made you want to go farther?
I wasn't done with pageantry.
Right.
I don't think I'm done. I'm 21.
Hmm.
I don't think I'm done with pageantry. I absolutely love going on stage.
Hmm.
I love the confidence and the energy that comes with being on stage. I absolutely love using pageantry as a platform to advocate for my cause.
Hmm.
It is amazing. I do love like the beauty side. I love also connecting with other girls, because when you join a pageant system, yeah, there are other girls, but there are other stories as well that you can connect with as well.
Yeah.
There are different walks of life that are all coming in for one thing, which is the crown.
Hmm.
But I always say, yes, there's going to be one queen that's going to win the crown and sash,
Hmm.
but there will be 50 other queens cheering her on.
Yeah.
It's a sisterhood that will never die out, because everyone is supporting each other from the beginning to
Hmm.
the end. And so for me, joining pageantry, I wasn't really ready to let go of that
Hmm.
just yet,
Hmm.
simply because, yes, Miss Uganda was great, but since 17 years old to 21, I've grown so much as a person,
Hmm.
from a teenage girl to a young lady, and I wanted to portray that on stage as well.
You mentioned you're not done yet, and yeah, I like to hear that. I mean, there's a lot of many things you can tap into with that opportunity. I'm gonna read a few questions that people asked, and
Oh no,
you're
not the
gonna
questions.
you're gonna you're gonna answer some of these. And I'll start with the one that's relatable with this. Like any future pageants I should like to participate in, and you just said you were not done yet. Are there any other pageants like you're looking towards like I would love to join this, I would love to be part of this?
Yes. So with Miss International UK, you do have an opportunity to compete again. So I will be competing again. And then I think the main goal would be the Miss Universe Great Britain.
Yeah.
To walk on the Miss Universe stage would be an absolute dream of mine.
Yeah.
I'm not done yet.
Yeah. See, this is the thing I like about doing podcasts and recording with people, because people like you who have dreams, like one day I'll be here in my house sitting, I was like, I recorded an episode with her when she's Miss Universe. Like, I know her. She was on my podcast, like
Exactly.
I like that. I like that. I look forward to that, and just like people pushing, and I feel like it's the same way, because right now my podcast was nominated in Uganda for like podcast influencer of the year.
Yes, I voted. I
Yeah,
voted.
thank you. And we won last year with an award, which was amazing, and I loved that. But like, I see people like, oh, I've been on that guy's podcast. Oh, I've seen it when they see it everywhere. Like, I've been on that guy's podcast. It's the same feeling I get when I see my guests celebrating something, a win or something. And
Hmm.
that's why every birthday, like if there's a birthday and like one of my guests has a birthday, like I reshare the episode on their
Hmm.
birthday. And like if my guest has a win, like when Oliver Nakakande went to Miss Grant, I shared that, because like, oh yeah, I had her on my podcast, now she's a Miss Grant, she has a book. And then I shared that. Anytime I see one of my guests like winning, I share that, and it gets me excited about that. So I can't wait to see you guys' journey.
Ah, thank you. That's so nice. Yeah, it's a never-ending support system. That's what we like to hear.
Another question: how can someone, especially the youth, overcome mental illness?
Ooh, that's a great question. Mental illness, well, mental health, in fact, is something within our community that is not spoken about. Now, I'm blessed to have a mother that not only did she graduate with a first class in mental health, but she's also a mental health nurse, and she's always advocated self care for me. Always growing up, self care. You know, taking care of yourself first. Um, is so beneficial to not just yourself but to your brain and to you internally, because the energy you give yourself is what you're going to get back. And so when it comes to the youth, in terms of overcoming mental health, number one, speak about it. It's very important to talk about your emotions, and your emotions are your emotions. Your feelings are valid as well. People think that, oh, I feel this, but, I don't think people may. It's rubbish. Whatever you feel is valid. And so long as you find someone, whether it's a friend, a family member, mum, dad, sister, cousin, you feel comfortable and safe confiding in, whether it's, a quote unquote small issue or a big issue, you talking about it, you are overcoming that first barrier to kind of, okay, finding a solution to get over it safely.
That's amazing. That's a great
Yeah.
answer. And I don't know why one of the person who asked it, and I think this person was from Uganda, and I think they're
Yeah.
going through that. So I really appreciate somebody asking that.
And yeah, and just to touch on when it comes to the self care, things that I do is, take walks. Social media breaks are very important. Phone breaks as well. Try not to go on your phone, an hour or two before you go to bed, just so you can, be one with your thoughts rather than always going on phone, social media. That can stress one out subconsciously. You wouldn't even realize that it's affecting you mentally. So exercise, it's very important. With me, I have asthma. Having a chronic illness from when you were a baby to now, over time, it is going to affect you mentally. The medication, the doctor's appointments, certain treatments are not working. That's going to take a toll on you. So find something that brings the best out of you. Find something that brings you joy, whether it's a book, whether it's journaling, whether it's exercise, and use that to kind of calm you down,
Yeah.
to reset yourself to zero before you explode, because no one wants to explode.
I don't know if it's just me, but I love interviewing people in pageantry and Miss Worlds, Miss Ugandas, because I think that's what they say when they say beauty and brains. Because when I interview you guys, like the way you answer questions and think about life, and at least everybody I've had on the podcast, they have that talk. Like they can talk to you, and if you're struggling with something, you leave the place change. You're like they're like pastors of
It's a
pageants.
pageant thing. It's a
Yeah,
pageant thing.
it's a pageant thing we would never know. The other question: if you could meet or have lunch with any famous person in history, who would it be and why?
Michelle Obama.
Yeah.
Michelle Obama. She is. I've got two of her books. I've read two of her books. Well, I've got two people. Okay, number one, Michelle Obama. She is an epitome of what it means to be an inspiring Black woman. You know, she. I aspire to become a lawyer. She was also a lawyer as well, attending one of the top law schools as a Black woman in America. Her story is very, very inspirational. And to sit down with her just to talk about, like the legal system or something, that would be so amazing to sit down with a woman like her. Now, number two, for similar reasons as well, Kamala Harris. I think Kamala Harris, her story as well is very, very inspiring.
Yeah.
Very inspiring. Someone that built her way in the legal world in the United States to now becoming the
vice president.
The vice president of the United States. Absolutely amazing. Her work within the America's legal system and having that power as well to kind of decide, okay, how is this legislation going to affect our society? That is a very powerful position to have, and I hope one day to be as high as her.
Yeah.
And just to sit down with her and ask her upbringing, questions about how she went about her career as a lawyer to the vice president would be amazing.
Those are great people, and I think I've listened to Michelle Obama with Oprah. She had I think she was doing her book on a live show, and I spent the whole night just listening to her because she speaks a lot of wisdom and her
Yes,
life.
so much wisdom.
It's amazing. Another question I have for you: what has been a challenge you've experienced in life, and how did you overcome it?
Ooh, a challenge. Overcoming my asthma.
Yeah.
I think. Background, I used to do track and field growing up. And obviously with someone that has severe asthma and you're running, it just doesn't make any sense, especially being told, medically speaking, you shouldn't be doing this because it's going to affect you. I just did not listen. I blocked out all of that noise because I didn't want that to kind of limit myself to my success. So during track and field, I kept on pushing. And it came to a point where, unfortunately, I did have to stop running just because of the asthma was so bad, and the treatment was very strong. However, I stopped on my own accord rather than listening to other people telling me to stop. So just listening to myself and knowing my worth and my limits rather than someone placing a limit on me and my talent and my success. I say I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud to say that, yes, although I did stop, unfortunately, with track and field, I stopped knowing that I reached my limit, not anyone else's limit.
Right.
So I would say that would be a challenge that I had to eventually overcome, because it is hard, when people are constantly telling you, oh, Caitlin, you shouldn't be maybe go training once a week. It's hard because, we're all human at the end of the day, and it's going to get to you. And there's been times where, when I was 15, I was, let me just quit. Let me just stop. But no, I really did push myself until I felt that, okay, I am fulfilled in this. Now it's time to take care of me. So
that's always good to do it yourself and comes within you and without the outside noise and whatever they say. For what in life do you feel most grateful for?
I am grateful for, well, there's many things. I'm grateful for life. I'm grateful for my education. I think, my mom, she always told me, Caitlin, people can take away, your money, they can take away your clothes. People can take everything away from you, but the one thing they can never take and steal away from you is your education. the power of knowledge is so powerful, and it's even more powerful when you are in a position to pass on that knowledge. So yes, education most definitely I'm grateful for. And also I'm grateful for my mom.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for my, she's so inspirational, you know. When I was watching her decide to take her degree and really like go through it to the point where she was awarded a first class in her degree into the mental health. That is I'm so grateful for a woman in my life that has shown me that there is no limit to your success, whether it's educational success, whether it's pageantry success, whatever it is, there is no limit to your success.
Yeah.
And my mom also growing up, you know, we're talking about her, but I love her. She's always taught me to speak up, not in a way to, you know, be rude and whatnot, but she's always told me, you know, to use my voice and use my voice well. And that is why, you know, after I complete my law degree, I aspire to become a barrister and advocate for people that feel like their voice isn't enough. So I'm grateful for my mum, because she is a woman of wisdom, and yeah.
That's amazing. And whenever you have a supportive parent, it's always a plus for your life. It's always good. We need it. And all of us, when we're younger, whatever we want to achieve, when we have the support of our parents, it makes life easier. What's the biggest problem young people face today? What do you think is the biggest problem?
Social media.
Actually, that's what I had in my head.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
social media. People, they get everything from social media. Their ideas of success comes from social media. Their ideas of friendship or relationships come from social media, and it's so unrealistic for them because you have now unrealistic idea of what it means to be, you know, anywhere in your life. And you know, I think the youth today, they don't really have a sense of self-identity. They kind of get their own identity from, you know, social media, TikTok, Instagram, you know, the typical platforms. And it's sad because that's when one can lose their authenticity of oneself. And I think that's something that the youth of today, they need to acknowledge, that yes, social media is a problem, and you will not find your true self-identity through your phone.
Yeah. No,
Your answers are not going to lie on TikTok or on Instagram. They are going to lie within yourself, and take time to understand yourself before you allow social media to kind of dictate how you live your life, because it's damaging. It really is damaging.
yeah.
It really is.
And the thing I try to remind people about social media, and I don't know all of it, but like at least for my life, like when I post things I'm working on, when I post, like I work on airplanes, like mostly private jets. So once in a while I'll post something when I'm working on a private jet. I don't ever claim they're mine, but like people see that life, especially my friends back in Uganda. It was like, oh my gosh, this guy is always around private jets and all that. But beside like what you see on my Instagram, there's a lot of failures on the background. Like there's a lot of things you don't see that I went through, and I try to tell people, remind people all the time, like just because I'm posting this for now, there's a lot of failures back there.
Yes.
So sometimes people will see what they see on Instagram and it puts them on pressure because they
Yes.
want that, but they don't know it took a lot of time to get to that. And most of these days, people are not going to be on Instagram to talk about what they went through. They're just going to post the good things, the good side out of that.
Yeah.
So you would never know. And then you're going to put yourself on pressure because you want that thing right now. But in real sense, it took like 5 years. It took like 10 years to get to where you see it. So when you see something, remember or like get context about it. How long did it take? And don't put yourself on pressure. Just go on Godspeed. I like to say Godspeed.
Yeah, live in God's speed.
Yeah.
That's a quote. You know, it's I didn't say it's all a facade. What you see on social media, it is a facade, because, like you said, behind a picture is, you know, a 12-page story. You know, of, you know, what it means for that person to be here today taking that picture. And you shouldn't just live to just one picture. It's unrealistic.
Yeah.
And, you know, as a society, I think we need to help each other acknowledge that this is something that's wrong. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
what can we do as a society to kind of relax it a bit more?
Yeah.
Because it is getting out of hand. Yeah.
That's crazy because the second question I was gonna ask you was like, is social media bringing people together or causing separation?
Okay. Mm, yes and no.
Yeah, that's
Now,
how
the
I
reason
was
why,
gonna answer too.
yeah, the reason why I said yes is because it took me back to 2020 when it was the Black Lives Matter movement. Social media brought thousands together. You know, the power of social media to bring justice, to bring some sort of racial justice to that movement was amazing. You know, I'm seeing information that's been going on in America within seconds, within minutes. And just by people retweeting, you know, reposting certain things, resharing things in their stories, that was a powerful time for society to use social media for the good. However, it can get toxic. You know, we have the element of cyberbullying within young people. That's something that's still there. And because of how advanced and how popular and how glamorized social media has become, it can turn to something very nasty and toxic. And that's why we need to kind of acknowledge the fact that social media is okay, but sometimes it is also okay to take a break from it because it can get toxic. And that's why I do say yes or no when it
Yeah,
comes to that question.
yeah, yeah. I'm not even gonna add to that because you spoke everything I had in my head. So yeah, it's a 50-50 for me. It brings
Mm-hmm.
people together, and it could cause that because I look
Mm-hmm.
at it as like, so my podcast is more remote, and
Mm-hmm.
for me it brings me closer to people. Like I can't be in
Yes.
London right now, but here we have a conversation through social media, and after this I'm gonna send it back, and then the people in Uganda will read it, will see it or something. So that's how I look at it. But again, on the other side, it can also cause separation.
Mm-hmm.
What's your biggest fear?
Oh, my biggest fear. I don't think I actually have any fears in
Okay.
life. I think the reason why I don't have like, you know, a fear in life is because I'm very content with my
Nice.
life.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, if you were to ask me this when I was, you know, 16, 17, I think for me, I would have said, oh, you know, not making it as a lawyer. But the reason why that fear is no longer inside me because I'm so sure of myself that I'm going to make it in my career. I'm so sure of myself that I'm going to be successful in my pageantry. That's just the only option,
Yeah.
you know. And success does not mean winning all the time as well. I think people need to understand that
Yep.
success can look like a blessing in the sky. It's something that you just never expected at all. You know, so that as well as being content has allowed me to not really dwell into, you know, fears
Yeah.
in life that I may have.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, that's a great answer right there because
Do you
that's a
have any fears?
huh?
Do you have any fears in life?
The fears I have, like for me, if somebody had asked me that question, I would have thought of like the things I can't control. Like if
Mm.
it's something I can't
But
control.
then why would you fear something that you physically cannot
No, and,
control?
and it wasn't like it's not like a thing. It's like an animal. Like I'm scared of snakes.
Mm.
Like that's what I was
Oh,
gonna say. But like besides those, like I think I'm the same way with you. Like I'm so content with my life and what I do. Like if I want something, I'm gonna go at it and work at it. And if I don't get it, I'm not gonna be mad at myself if I've
mm,
put in all my efforts. And I tell people this that one thing, yeah, actually I have a fear is regret, and that's what I fight against. I don't like to regret. So what I do is if I have something I want to do, I'm gonna give it all. If I don't
yeah.
get it, I know I did my part, I played my part, I gave everything I had. Now it's not me. Like I did my part,
Yes.
I didn't get it, I did, I'm content, I did it, and I did whatever I can do to get to that. So I guess that's how I answer that. Like, but I think my fear will be regretting. So I don't put myself in that position to regret. I make sure
Mm,
if I'm doing a podcast, I'm going to do it with all my heart. And if something doesn't come out or comes up short, I did the best I could do.
yes. Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely.
Yeah. So Yeah, your fear is gone. All the questions that people had asked you, they're all gone. So now you can calm down. I discovered your fear. That was your fear. I was like,
I thought they were gonna ask me some crazy questions.
no,
No.
no. But you're into like you like fashion and beauty, and is there somebody that inspires you fashion, or like somebody you look up to, like, oh, I like this style.
I think growing up, I was so stuck on YouTube.
Okay.
So I used to watch Jackie Aina. I still watch her now. She's an amazing YouTuber. She's actually in America. I used to watch her a lot. Uh, I used to watch just like basic makeup tutorials on YouTube,
Yeah.
and that would kind of like inspire me to kind of do it myself. And when it comes to makeup, I always loved wearing makeup because I used to dance. So my mum, she put me in ballet when I was like 4 years old, and I used to dance up until the age of 11, 12.
Yeah.
So when we had like show recitals, makeup was always part of our costume. So I absolutely love the process of, putting on the lipstick, the eyeshadows, and looking pretty, looking all girly. So, my life experiences as well as, my favorite YouTubers kind of shaped me into becoming this girl that I
Yeah.
am today.
I saw
Yeah.
you have a business, some type of business of like human hair wigs. Is that your business or on
Oh no,
Instagram? Yeah.
so with when it comes to like content creating and like influencing, you can do commission links as well.
Okay.
So, companies, once they recognize your page and your page is doing well, they can reach out to you and, you offer them their services and they obviously return back
Okay.
with their services. So, working with companies as well, like, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example. For Miss International, I worked with this company called Vespa, and I've been working for them since like last year November, just collaborating with them with their clothes. And I think that was kind of like a little 360 moment,
Yeah.
having them sponsor me for Miss International, as well as going to their office as well and just trying on like new pieces and just helping them. That's kind of like a little 360 moment for me because it just shows that your work is eventually going to pay off.
Right. Yeah. No, that's amazing. Yeah. And it's the same thing with my podcast too. Like once my podcast is starting, I've had some sponsorship coming up with people from Uganda, and it's amazing. And I love that. It shows the growth and just partnering with people. I love it. I love to do all that. So yeah, we're coming close to the end of this recording, but I have some questions I ask people now. These are my questions. They're not from the outside. But one of the questions is, what's a life lesson you've learned in life to this point?
A life lesson that I've learned is that if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. And I say that because in life, you really do need to allow God to guide you in the path that he paved out for you from the moment you were born. There's no point in being so caught up in your own personal plan. Okay, by this age, I want to do this. By da-da-da-da-da. It's just not going to happen because that's not what God has paved out for you. So I think in life, you really have to just pray. I think prayer is it's so powerful,
Yeah.
and allow God to work in you.
Yeah.
Allow him to kind of use you in a way in order for you to get to where you need to be, not to where you want to be.
Yeah. There's one verse in the Bible that I like, and it speaks to what you just said. It's, I think, Proverbs 16:9. That says, we make plans, but God determines our steps. So, like, we have our plans in head, like what we want to do, but then God will take us through those steps. And if He feels like it's not good for us, He'll take you somewhere else. So, whatever happens in my life, I live by that. I was like,
Yes.
if it doesn't happen, God didn't want that for me. If it does, God wants that for me. And that's how I live
And
it.
there's something
That's how I go.
always greater at
Yeah.
the end. You may not see it, you may not feel, oh my gosh, like this is the end of the world. No, but it's not.
Right.
Something greater is going to come out at the end of this.
Yeah, that's facts. What gets you excited about life?
Just the end goal. I think the vision that I have for myself and knowing that God has set great things for me, I'm very excited to get there. Obviously taking my time, I don't want to rush, but what gets me excited about life is looking back as well at my own growth. I think I'm so excited to kind of like when I'm, 24, 25, look back and think, oh my gosh, I've grown so much from when I was a 21-year-old, and now look at me now, I'm doing X, Y, and Z. I'm very excited to kind of look back at my journey and see the growth and also feel it as well. Yeah.
No, that's a great answer. I like your answers all because they help me reflect about my personal life, and I pray that I hope that's what the listeners are gonna feel, because when you just answered that, I remember when I started my podcast, I was in my bedroom without a microphone, without all these lights and everything. It was just me and my phone and just talking to the phone. And the other day, I was looking back and I'm like, I started my podcast in my bedroom, but now I'm nominated in awards in Uganda. I won the first one and we're doing good on the second one, so thank you for voting actually. But it made me just reflect, like, it's it's cool, like we've made this progress, we've made these things happen, so like it gets me excited about life, to see the progress and to see the growth. So thanks for saying that, and hopefully the listeners will also find things in their life that they look at and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm thankful for this, or like I'm happy for this, but also staying excited for what's going to happen, like leaving
Yes.
room for what's going to
Yeah.
happen. It's the same way. I can't wait for where my podcast is going to be. Maybe one time I'm going to be doing this full time and I'm going to have like a big show. I look at Kevin Hart. I love Kevin Hart a lot, and he has a Heart to Heart. I think that's what he calls it, Heart to Heart show, and he interviews other people like about life and all this stuff. And I look at his show. I'm like, I would love to have that kind of show. Like I would love to have a whole production, to have a whole. And every time I see that, and when you say the answer, like it made me think of like I can't wait to get to the part. Because first of all, I love this. I love talking to people. I love interviewing people. I love other people to get to hear another person's story. So like when I listen to your story here, it's pre-recorded, but like, man, I can't wait for these people to hear what Caitlin said on the podcast. I can't wait to hear, and that's how I'm excited. How excited I get when for my listeners are like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for you guys to hear this. So that gets me excited about life, and I love to hear that. I love to have guests here, and I love the connections that I get from hosting people on the podcast. The final question. This is a signature question on the podcast. I asked everybody. No, I asked everybody those two questions. Who would you like to see on this podcast next? And you're gonna help me connect me with that person. And I think I have an idea on who you told me.
I know it's going to be a bit biased. Okay, this is going to sound very biased, but my best friend, my sister, she was also in the same pageant as I was, and she's also the current Miss Caribbean and Commonwealth.
Okay.
She's called Rainy Kakuza. She is an amazing young lady.
Yeah.
Talking to her, she just pours out wisdom into your ear. You can have a 5-minute conversation with her and you're going to feel like, wow.
Yeah.
All of that coming out of your mouth within the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know it's biased, guys. I know it's a pageant girl again. But, her story as well, her upbringing is so inspirational. And when you do take the time to kind of interview her and talk about her journey, amazing young lady.
That's awesome. And this is what I love about the podcast, because like when I get somebody into photography, because there's a time when I interviewed a lot of photographers in Uganda, I love that because somebody will recommend another person and we'll get to learn all these other people. And people have different, like I know you've mentioned it's pageantry again, but like you all have different stories, all have different journeys, but like the same goal but different journeys and experience. So it's never going to be the same story. But thank you for that. And I would like to thank you again for making this happen. I can't wait for
Thank you for having me finally, after a year.
Finally, after a year. So, yeah, be editing this, looking forward to it. So, is there anything else you want to say to the listeners?
Thank you. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure you guys follow me on all my platforms, Instagram, TikTok. What's that TikTok? Caitlin O02.
Okay, I'll ask
it's all on my Instagram.
Okay, yeah. I'll ask you for those so we can put them in the description so people can find them easily. But yeah, thank you very much, and let's stay connected. I'd love to see what's next for you and what you achieve. And anytime if it comes for voting, we're all here for you, and we'll support and we'll vote.
Thank you so much.
My podcast
Thank
is
you.
all about we rise by lifting each other. So we all lift each other so we can grow. So thank you very much, Caitlin. It was nice talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. Hey there, this is Bonnie Kibuka, the host of the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. Thanks for watching and listening to my podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you share it with a friend and recommend somebody to this podcast. Don't forget to leave a feedback on this podcast because that's how we grow. And also don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and comment. Join us on our social media platforms on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. So we would love to hear from you. Thank you very much and be blessed.